all of our listeners back to the podcast, and apologies for the slight delay. We had, as is often the case with technology, a little bit of a technical difficulty, but we are back online and really looking forward to spending a bit more time with you this afternoon with a few more really great guests. I'm Deborah Stewart, Director of Supplier Diversity with Shell, and I have with me a couple of folks who are going to be moving forward with our first interview for this afternoon. I'd like to introduce my teammate, first of all, Brian Hall, who is a Supplier Diversity and Diversity Outreach Specialist on our team. And in fact, he's going to be taking some of the lead this afternoon in hosting duties for part of the podcast. And I'd also like to introduce Jeff Marjama, and correct me if I mispronounced your name.
That's right.
But he is with CH2M Hill, who is one of our prime suppliers. And we've asked Jeff to join us to talk again about, as we did with our supplier floor earlier today, a bit about what CH2M Hill does for us, and also a bit about supplier diversity and supplier development as they see it as a prime supplier. So with that, I will open it up and ask Brian to kind of take our host lead roles. Tell us a little bit more about yourself, and then we'll ask CH2M Hill some good questions.
Wonderful, thank you, Deborah. As she stated, Brian Hall with Shell. I'm, of course, with Shell, right? In supplier diversity and small business programming for Shell. And my role is really to help Shell, our Shell team, and our businesses to really strategically search for suppliers that provide solutions or potential solutions for what we do. And of course, that's why we're here today at WeBank. And I help us manage the relationship between WeBank and Shell, as that is part of the work that we do as well. So not only interacting with the WBEs and those that represent the WBEs, but also helping WeBank in its mission to cause that impact for women-owned businesses. So enough about me, but Jeff, glad you're here today. Jeff's title is Business Delivery Manager for the Houston region for CH2M Hill. But Jeff, why don't you tell me a little bit about your role? What do you do day in and day out at CH2M Hill?
Sure. Well, the Business Delivery Manager is basically what it sounds like. I take care of the business side of the individual client projects. So what CH2M Hill does specifically for Houston and in the Houston region, mostly for Shell Real Estate, is the facilities management, going around making sure kind of the key facilities infrastructure is up and running, safe and maintained. And we do that for the hard services portion. So the actual buildings, the mechanical equipment, all the things that you would need to make sure a facility is in top-notch condition.
Now, do you also do that work for the for industrial spaces, our refineries and hard services like that?
We do in some cases, and we're always bidding on more.
Awesome.
We do the outside of the fence work at Deer Park, actually.
Okay. Okay. Wonderful.
Yeah, lots of the maintenance activities, and that's really kind of what we're looking for here and trying to diversify our supplier base.
So now, you talked about what you guys do for Shell.
Mm-hmm.
How do you know that you're successful in what you're doing based on your role?
It's really a function of communication. My role particularly oversees procurement, subcontracting, and finance internally to CH2M. So it's making sure that our suppliers are coming in, they're properly vetted both to CH safety standards and Shell safety standards, making sure that work is getting done properly, everybody's getting paid on time, all the paperwork gets into the right spots at the right time, and really making sure that business side of all the actual hard services work is taken care of and the ship runs smoothly.
Awesome. Well, I can admit this myself, that when I first tried to say the word CH2M Hill, when I first read it, it was really odd, and I didn't know what it meant, what it stood for. And so I'm sure that our listeners will go, what did they say? CH2M Hill. So why don't you tell us a little bit about the company overall, and what are some of the key activities that you guys do as a corporation, a major multi-billion-dollar corporation, I believe?
Sure, absolutely. CH2M is a global corporation, many divisions, but to kind of boil it down to a quick summary, CH provides infrastructure and engineering solutions pretty much globally. It's both for individual clients like Shell to running the past few Olympics. I believe we've actually done 6 now in terms of running these major global sporting events.
Oh, wow.
Transportation projects, running entire cities infrastructures, all the way to finding specific environmental solutions, whether it's sediment reclamation, really anything that can have an infrastructure and engineering solution. CH plays a large role.
That's really impressive, and I really want to make sure that we do a better job of helping not only our supplier base, but the general community really understand the breadth and depth of companies that are actually partners with us and how they're doing what they do. Thanks for sharing that part with us as well.
Absolutely.
Now, we're here at WeBank, and we're focused on women-owned businesses, right? So, what type of suppliers, if you had to just kind of think about it right now, you're here today, what type of suppliers would CH2M Hill be looking for in the women business space?
When we, at the beginning of the year, looked at kind of the opportunities we had, it's primarily in the overall running and maintenance. That's where we kind of see the biggest area that we can focus on and grow and diversify our supplier base, is that maintenance. It's it's really easy to find suppliers in certain areas, but if we need somebody to come in and work on glycol chillers for these enormous, gorgeous buildings that Shell has, it's a very specific skill set. So we're looking for that kind of running and maintaining expertise, whether it's servicing elevators, servicing, as I mentioned, the heating and cooling system is huge. Those are the areas that we're trying to focus on, because what we can do there is also, if a supplier doesn't maybe have the capacity to take the entire contract, we can easily break that up and help and team with people to build them to the point, if they want to have some of these larger contracts that go across multiple sites.
Oh, wow. Wonderful. Well, you mentioned capacity building, and that is something that's critical for Shell, and particularly for maybe some obvious reasons, some of which you stated here. If a supplier is good and has some capabilities, but needs an opportunity to just get their feet wet, or maybe even hone in on some skills, you're saying that CH2M Hill actually helps put those kind of situations out there.
We do, and kind of circling back to kind of my side of the fence, if you will, in terms of business delivery, what we found is a lot of these suppliers are really skilled at what they do, and they can do an amazing job, and maybe where they need a little bit more coaching is on that business delivery side, where it's making sure that we're aware of insurance level changes, of how they can show us how great a job they're doing.
Okay, awesome.
So in terms of reporting, so we started meeting with some of our larger suppliers, larger diverse suppliers, and teaming with them on a monthly basis, and actually going through how to put together a good monthly report that we can prove basically to our clients that we and this company deserve more work.
Well, that's wonderful. I think, we could talk about this all day, but I think the important piece is that we're doing, our job is to help grow businesses by helping them solve some of our problems.
Absolutely.
And so it's really important for CH2M Hill and Shell to work together and continue to work together on that.
Absolutely.
Thanks for your time today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
All right.